All right, so we're about halfway through this season with episode 5. Did I do that? No, did Tai do
Did
that?
Tai do that?
You know what? When we made the video last week, we had speculated about all these things about Lottie's death and that we were talking about Tai. And then right after we finished recording, I read that the next episode's title was Did Tai Do That?
Yeah.
Which then made us go, man, that would have been a good thing to bring up on the channel. But of course, when I very first read it, the only thing I could possibly think of as a 90s child is Steve Urkel, which I thought that was going to be like a cute little wink to
Mm,
90s kids. But they actually straight up mention not only Steve Urkel, but the deeper cut of Stefan Urkel,
yeah.
which that's something that only
A
someone who
true
was like,
90s kid.
someone who grew up in the 90s who watched Family Matters would even get such a reference of Urkel, the like cool counterpart. Um, my memory of that though is that he like puts himself in a machine, almost like it looks like a time machine or something. I haven't seen it in a long time. I think he does perfect it down into like a potion so he doesn't have to
hmm
go in the machine anymore. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I'm pretty sure the first time we ever see him, he goes into a machine. Putting all of that aside, fun fact: Family Matters is a spinoff of Perfect Strangers.
Oh.
Moving on. and technically, Family Matters is an '80s show because it started in '89. Moving,
Hmm.
useless knowledge as always. All right, did Ty do that? Let's talk about
Yes.
it. All right. So, of course, as always, Shauna instantly accuses Misty of killing Lottie
Yes. Like
because
right away.
she just hates Misty.
I feel like Shauna is very suspicious this episode.
Yeah.
Obviously, like Walter says, she's already killed somebody, which is a really good point. I mean, they kind of all have had like their hand with killing or hurting somebody, but everything that we're seeing with Shauna, like in the flashbacks too, and how she's kind of, manipulating Melissa to do things for her, and just, I don't know, her general behavior. I am definitely very suspicious that she maybe did have something to do with Lottie's death. I don't know. Also, the whole scene with her and Lottie's dad, too, kind of added to my suspicion
Yeah.
a bit. But yeah, she throws Misty, like, I mean, they're fighting still. Like, Misty doesn't even say her name when she's like, greeting them, or like,
Right.
which is
Right.
funny. Like, I like that they can throw in these kind of like catty little moments.
Little
um
jabs.
yeah, but she always kind of, we've already talked about it in some of the other episodes, that Shauna, puts blame on other people and accuses other people of doing things, whether or not they have done them, just because she doesn't like that person, or she thinks that they deserve to suffer or whatever, you know.
This is sort of reminding me of what they did with Daenerys Targaryen in Game of Thrones, where they started planting the seeds of the
Mm,
heel turn, which, when Game of Thrones ended, spoilers for Game of Thrones for anyone who didn't see it, and we get the eventual like full on heel turn of Daenerys. It was funny to me that so many people were not only like surprised by it but upset by it, and I was like, were you not paying attention to the show at all? She has had so many moments
yeah.
where she could have done the right thing and always chooses like her desire for the throne and does whatever suits her best so that she can get the power. And I feel like we're getting a similar thing here where Shauna started off originally as a pretty sympathetic character that was likable. And as we are continuing on in the show, especially this season, she has become more and more despicable, more and more unlikable. And it's almost, like they're trying to ease the audience into the eventual revelation or reveal that Shauna is the villain, that she's
Yeah.
the bad guy, that she's doing the bad things. If we go back to, I want to say it's like episode 1 or so of the show, she pulls that like bunny rabbit out of the garden and
Yeah.
kills it
Yeah.
and feeds it to the family. And it kind of
Yes.
reminded me a bit of this scene in here with Tai slitting this bunny's throat, which, for any animal lovers, well, I mean, I'm an animal lover too, but people who are like really sensitive to that shit, that's a brutal scene.
It is really brutal.
But yeah, it's like their connection. And when Ty's doing that, she's doing it to summon this dark side, that second person that's within her. Now they're going to kill the bunny anyway, right? Like they eat it, they trap it, that's their food. It is
Yeah.
what it is. But she's purposely trying to connect with this animal to connect with that side, that darker half of her,
Hmm.
which is like, she's trying to convene with nature, with the wilderness or whatever, which is feeling like what Shauna was up to all the way back when we very first met her. We just, thought it was a weird quirk that she'd picked up living in
Sure.
the wilderness, but now we're starting to see there's a little bit more nefarious, um, you know, implications to that. So it reminded me of that scene. And
Yeah. Yeah. No. Sure. I think the bunny, like, there's been a few scenes with rabbits in general too.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I don't know. Shauna, like I said, just this episode, she's been very, very highly suspicious to me, especially obviously everything with her and Walter and the whole hair thing and the
yeah.
mutually assured destruction, and the fact that she's really unwilling to give up her hair for DNA. Is that her just being like, you're a weirdo, like I'm not going to give you my hair? Maybe, like that's what she
Yeah,
plays it off as.
yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know.
It's very
I'm
suspicious.
suspicious, and he has her hair now too. So like, he does have a way to test her DNA, which will likely come up at some point. Because I can't imagine that he would have it for no reason. Whether or not it will be used to like prove that she did do something, or if he like plants her hair, to
Mm.
frame her for something. I don't know.
Well, Walter, being this armchair detective like he is, he should know that you need a root from the hair. You can't
Mm,
just take someone's broken hair and get DNA off of it. You actually have to take it from the root and pull that out, and that's where you get the DNA from. So I didn't see any evidence on that hair, but they're not going to acknowledge that, I'm sure. I just noticed it when they looked at it. I'm like, I've watched enough forensic shit to know that you need the actual root
yeah.
for the hair. Anyway, yeah, it's a very suspicious scene. I definitely think it is either trying to lead us astray
Hmm.
and be suspicious. I will say this is probably the first episode where I actually kind of felt pretty sympathetic to Walter,
Mm,
because he genuinely is really, really into Misty.
yeah, he is.
And she, once again, like we had talked about previously, she treats him like everyone treated her.
Yeah,
And it's the only thing about Misty that makes me really question her likability,
sure.
because I do let her get away with more, obviously, smashing the black box and preventing them from getting rescued. She's done some pretty terrible things for
Yeah.
sure, but she still remains likable, uh, despite all of that. But the way that she treats Walter, I don't like it because it's very hypocritical.
Yeah, it is. I think this episode, he does come across as more sympathetic because he does like really think that this is a way to bond with Misty, like to be a challenge to her, which maybe would be true in a different scenario. I'm not really sure
Makes her
if
toes
he's got
curl.
the right read on her, because she's kind of in a different, like, Misty this season is really taking like a different turn. Like, she's still Misty, but she's wearing Natalie's jacket and she's being a lot more like bold and kind of standing her ground and speaking up for herself, and going against her friends, more than I think she has in the other seasons that we've seen. So I think that she's in a different place, and Walter is like, I don't know. I don't think it's gonna work out for him. But I did like everything with like the two detective teams, Misty and then
Yeah.
Shauna and Walter, like,
An unlikely duo.
yeah, them pretending to be IT people, like they're to help or to fix like the Wi-Fi or something. And it is sad because Lottie's father is like, maybe has Alzheimer's or some, he has some other memory issue. So he doesn't really know what's going on, but at the same time, he does know that Lottie's dead.
Yeah.
Because he said something that I thought was really interesting, but I can't remember 100% like what he said.
Yeah.
But Misty
Essentially.
says something about her being pushed down the stairs or whatever, and he says like the cops like so and so at the station, like he's gonna make sure it always like that it looks like an accident, or he's not gonna get his funding or something.
Mm.
I don't know if he says make it look like an accident, but he's like he's gonna keep that story, or he's not gonna get like money or something like that. I could be wrong. Somebody can
Yeah.
correct me if that's not the correct like thing, but that's what I thought he had said, like something along those lines, which is interesting to me because I'm like, what was going on there then? Like, he mentions the cult obviously and all of that,
Yeah.
so
So he's aware. Yeah.
yeah,
Um. Well, we see the investigation of the basement steps that Misty goes and visits, and we see that there are clear, like, nail marks in the wall from where she reached out to try to grab the wall to prevent herself from going down the stairs. Now, I think that this pretty much clears the idea that she committed suicide,
yeah,
right? Which I am very curious to see if this video gets flagged for saying that word, because I had
mm,
mentioned with people, they always try to go like unalive. I'll never fucking say that seriously. Never. It's never gonna happen. I think it completely takes away from this, like, the severity of the word. Like,
mm,
it you should never try to make the word suicide less impactful than it is. Right. Anyways, I don't want to get on a high horse about it, but I saw people commenting in the comments and saying other words than, and it's like, you think your comments gonna get taken in? Maybe.
oh
But
yeah,
that's
I could see the
the
comments being
comments
like
get
flagged or
flagged and
taken
taken down.
down.
I
Yeah,
feel like that's crazy
I
to
don't
me.
know about the speaking it, but yeah,
Like, someone kills themselves, it's a suicide. I think
yeah,
it's, obviously it's to try to eliminate bullying online, like, why
yeah,
don't you commit suicide?
right,
But at the same time, if people have found workarounds and it's like, why don't you unalive
yeah.
yourself? It's like,
It's the problem
they're all
is
just,
still
it's the
there.
bullying. It's the
Yeah,
same shit. I can say fuck or I can say frick. As long as I have the same intention, it doesn't make any difference. It's not the
yeah,
word, it's the intention. Anyways, moving on.
but yeah,
So
she's
it
I
goes
don't
away from suicide.
to like now there's like foul play or
It's
something.
very clearly
Um,
foul play to
yeah,
me. Even
which
though she drained her bank account, as a lot of people were pointing out in the comments,
yeah,
and we get Misty confirming that with like $50,000 taken out of her account.
yeah,
But was she taking that out to, like,
to
pay
pay somebody
someone
off,
off,
right?
or
Yeah, yeah, of course.
or
That's yeah, a good question, and definitely something that will probably come up. I don't know. I can see Shauna being like, "You got to give me that money," or like getting Melissa, because that's the other thing. Like the fact that she gets Melissa to cut Coach Scott's like
Achilles
Achilles
tendon?
tendon makes me think that when we see Melissa again, like that Shauna's going to have like the same, whether they're probably not already working together, but if they did, like if she had her kill Lottie or something, I don't know. I'm
Mm,
like, that's kind of where my mind went with everything. But what I was going to say is that Van does kind of confront Tai about what we were talking about with like, where were you for that hour?
yeah.
Which was really good to see. And, Tai's kind of like, what do you think? Like, because she's like, Van says, like, it's like 15 minutes, like, for you to get, like, from here to there or whatever. And she's like, well, it's New York and I had to get this and that and, like, blah, blah,
Which is
blah,
fair.
which is also fair. But I don't know. We clearly see that Tai does kind of summon that dark side of her
Tie's
this
too
episode.
obvious,
She is too
but maybe
obvious,
she's so
but
obvious that it's like a twist that they're gonna just be like, yeah, it's the obvious thing, because you
well,
nowadays never think it's
what
the
I would
obvious
think would happen is that Tai didn't know that she did it. Like if Tai's the
thing.
one that did it, it's her like dark half or whatever. It's the
Yeah.
sleepwalking version
But
of her
we
that
see
did it.
now that Tai has the ability to summon it, or at least it takes over in stressful situations, I
Right.
guess is what we find out. Actually, I take back, she can summon it. She tried to summon it multiple
It
times. It
didn't
didn't
work.
happen.
Yeah.
And then when she was faced with something that was too much for her mind to handle, it just naturally took
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
to relieve her of that.
Right.
So is it possible? I don't know, because we have a lot of attempts at kind of unnaturally summoning or tapping into in this episode, where Ty's doing that, but Aquila is also trying to forcibly go into the cave and have a vision,
Right.
right? As opposed to where like Van and Shauna and them and Aquila as well had like kind of stumbled upon it and had a vision, um, just happenstance,
Right.
as opposed to this time it's like, no, we're going in and I'm gonna find a specific vision, and they're trying to kind of manipulate it.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, it definitely makes me wonder if if Ty's not the only one that can tap into some other side, and with the fact that they can communicate with Jackie who's dead, or see visions and whatnot. With Misty wearing Natalie's jacket,
Yeah.
is it possible that she does something and is able to tap into Natalie, and every time we see her wearing her jacket, it's
Mm.
like Natalie's taken over.
That would be interesting. Yeah. I think it's possible, of course. Yeah, it's a good point though that there's like a lot of like kind of forcing of like they're trying to like force the wilderness or whatever, to have that effect or to do something for them or whatever, which is clearly not how it works in both cases, although it does sort of work because the vision does come, and Ty does sort of have that dark half take over for a moment.
Couple notes here. Walter is an absolute terrible tailor. He should not ever tail a car again. He drives 1 inch away.
That felt like it was intentional. I don't understand how it could not have
I don't
been.
understand
He
either.
felt like it felt like he was totally doing that on
But
purpose.
Shauna is not that far from Misty, and Misty is super oblivious to
Yeah, I
her.
was pretty
But
surprised that Misty
man,
wasn't, but
Walter is so bad at
yeah,
tailing
he had to
people.
have been doing it on purpose. I think he did it intentionally to like talk to Shauna because he suspects her
Yeah,
and to team up with her.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's also very, very messed up that Ty brings Van to the family meetup,
Yeah,
because
that's because not
we've
only
been
is
away from
it
the show for like a couple years, right? But it's not been very long since she had her freak out meltdown, killed the animal, the family pet, and
all of
then
this is
left.
less
This is like,
than like a year for sure. A year would be the longest, I would think,
I think
right?
it's way less than that.
I do too. I don't know the exact timeline, but it feels like all this has happened in like less than a
Because
year.
she goes, no, this is like way less than that. Because it's like my
Months,
memory,
right? It would be
my
months.
memory of it is that she goes and meets up with Van, and then they hang out for a bit. I'm thinking weeks, if not like a month or two.
Weeks is crazy if it really is that quickly. Everything has happened, but regardless, it has happened very recently, and it's not only like bad taste to because of the way things ended to bring like your new person with you, but she 1,000% knows who Van is.
Oh, of course.
Like they've
Of
talked
course.
about it, and she's like, that was my girlfriend like when we were in the wilderness, and like so they already have this connection and bond that
Yes.
she doesn't have anything to like relate to, which is I think her reaction makes total sense, where she's just like, so you're her, and Van is like very clearly uncomfortable, but which sucks because it's like Van went to be like supportive, but it's awkward.
Yeah.
And her son doesn't even really want, I mean, we hear that he's like asking for her, but he asks her if she's still his mom, and she says, "Yes, I'll always be your mom." But he like does not believe her.
I don't. I mean, I think
And
he's asking more directly like he's asking for his mom, and who shows up, he's unsure of if that's his mother or not,
Mm.
because I think he's very aware
I do too. Yeah, I
that
think we
his
were.
mom
Yeah,
is two different
yeah,
people. And when he's asking for her, but when she shows up, he's very
yeah,
hesitant on like, are you going to be my mom? Because like I don't. What I think is happening, I guess I could be a hint towards that. That's, we'll call them like good tie and evil tie, right? And I think he is suspicious because the dog starts barking at
yeah.
her, and that's like a family dog, or unless they got a new one.
I
Is
think.
that a new dog? And then the one she killed the other one. I don't
Yeah.
remember, but regardless, I
No,
almost
they.
feel like they're hinting at that that's evil tie, like
Yeah.
she's kind of impersonating,
I think
and
that.
she's taken over.
Yeah, I think that's a good hint that that could be what's happening for sure. But I also think like because there's also a scene in this episode where a dog at the hotel barks at Misty, and so I'm kind of wondering if just animals in general
Yeah.
are wary of all of them because of
Is Missy wearing
she's wearing
Natalie's
Natalie's
jacket at
jacket.
that point?
Yeah.
Mm.
So
Because, like, think about, she's trying to summon the courage to kill Coach Scott, and then she can't do it, she can't do it, she can't do it. Then the evil tie takes over and is just like, no problem, I'll kill him right now. And the girl that went up, the girl that not only came up and devised the idea to kill someone to cure Van, but also the girl that was about to break into the house,
yeah,
that ain't the girl that was trying to summon her dark half.
sure.
That was her dark half
Yeah.
to me. Like, I think that she's kind of won out,
Yeah, I mean that's definitely possible.
or maybe they've merged.
Hmm. I don't know if they've merged. I think we're still gonna see her do like some sleepwalking stuff
Maybe.
again. But maybe not. Yeah, I don't know. I was more meaning that I think the animals in general, like not
Yeah.
are just like they know that all of the girls are bad news because
Yeah.
of
They
like
got that bad juju on them.
yeah, from the wild.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, um
Another little pro tip here. If you have a cave full of gas,
yeah.
don't take an open flame in
Yeah.
there. Just
Yeah.
just a you don't know where the gas is gonna catch, and they're taking it up close to like, okay, we're gonna stand right here and you go in the gas room and then we'll pull you out. They have a candle. And if you were that deep into the cave, when they go to like run in to get her out, like, where's the light source coming from? In movies, they always make these things look like they're nicely lit, but
Sure.
a cave.
Yeah.
You ever been in a
It's
cave and you go
black.
like dark, like in, and the light source runs out? It
Yeah.
is literally nothing. You see blackness. So in order to run in and get her, you would need a light source, and their light source is an open flame, and that's a room full of gas. So
Yeah.
not a good idea.
Not good.
Um, and then yeah, I mean they go to kill Scott, Coach Scott, Benjamin Scott,
Yeah.
and they Akela has her vision
And Lottie
that he's a
runs in
bridge,
and yep.
and Travis and them save the day, and of course Ty did not miss her shot. That evil Ty was marksman in that moment. They save him. He's the bridge, and then we think that Shauna has went rogue with Melissa
Yes.
by her side, and that they're gonna kill him off. And it's like, no, it's a fucked up scene. But then we find out that it's even more fucked up because Kaylee was like, yell for help, and it was like it wouldn't have mattered. There is no help coming because they all agreed to, you know, wound him to the point where he can't get away.
Yeah, I guess that's what
And
they
it's like,
decided
if
because
he's gonna be your bridge,
I know. Well,
you might want to patch up that relationship,
yeah.
not torture him, because if you want that bridge to get you out, because she sees the city, right? Like she sees civilization over the horizon when she goes out on his body and sees him as the bridge. And it's like, if you want him as a bridge, you might want to bridge that relationship that you guys have broken, that you've burned down the bridge. But now that bridge that you have
Yeah.
metaphorically between him and you guys is gone.
Yeah, I definitely thought that he was already pretty weak and wounded with, missing like just his general state, but also that like it was going to be hard for them to like recover from being like, we were gonna kill you, but now the only reason we're not is because our like weird woo woo spiritual stuff is telling us not to. And I already thought that was gonna be hard for them to like come back to, but now, yeah, I have a feeling it's gonna be. I think he's gonna like, for the most part, he has no choice but to kind of like play along with them, because what is he gonna do now? Like, they're right, he can't leave,
He heard his boyfriend's
so
voice saying,
come back to
come
me.
back to me,"
Yeah,
which his boyfriend is still alive.
yeah, his boyfriend is at
So
home.
that's what I'm saying. So it's not like, at first I was thinking he died. And then I
Yeah,
was remembering, I was like, no, he's still alive.
yeah,
So his boyfriend saying, come back to me, is like, make it back to me. And he
yes,
starts begging for his life. I thought for a second he was going to be like, all right, like, let me die. I'm going to go to him. And then I'm like, wait, the guy's still alive. So he wants to get
yeah,
home.
yeah.
Right. So there is that bridge. It would be wild to find out that Coach Scott survived.
I know. I was just thinking that, and like we have a scene where
Because if
he's
he
like,
does, then there is your clear suspect
yeah,
of who would want to get back at these girls and knock them off one by one.
of course. I mean, after everything, yeah, he would be the number one guy
For good reason.
for a very good reason. Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But
Yeah. For anyone, this is a completely pointless little side note here, but the scene with the bridge and her looking out and seeing the city and that being her vision to like get back to the city and all of that, very reminiscent for the departure of the character of Joel Fleischman on the show Northern Exposure. His character also like has a vision and he sees the city and he's like, I've got to go, and he leaves, and it's like the departure of like the main character of the show, and then they try to run the show without him for like a little time and people got disinterested, so they like ended the show abruptly. Great show, 90s show, so I thought I'd bring it up here. It's what it reminded me of. If who's seen Northern Exposure? Great show. David Chase, who created The Sopranos. Anyway, yeah. So, where do we go from here? I don't know. I actually have no idea. I don't know what to guess here. I think it's pretty clear that Lottie did not kill herself, did not commit suicide.
yes, that's, I think, also
Um,
clear.
yeah,
Yeah.
because everybody's speculation was like, I subscribe to the idea that she
Yeah.
did it to herself, and it's like, okay, I when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, that would make sense. But with the claw marks, now could the claw marks have come from? No, actually, that doesn't make any sense. No, that it does to me, unless it's, I don't know why they'd be there from someone else. It's too random,
Where she's like
right?
fighting them and such.
Well,
And
that's still murder,
yeah.
right? That's still not suicide. I'm saying like
Oh, right.
they're just claw marks from some other
Somebody
day.
else.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Or she's
they
possessed.
wouldn't
and
put it
she,
in there
yeah.
unless it was pertaining to this specific thing. Like, could it in reality, could it just be marks from a month or 6 months ago? Of course. But in a show like this, they're not going to put it there unless it has some purpose to it. Now, could you go back to those claw marks, find like a broken nail, and then link it to like Shauna's DNA in her hair or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think you're right, though. I think it's very possible that we are to be suspicious of Shauna with the hair thing, but you had a good point of pointing out that like that could be a flip where he's taking it to plant it.
Yeah.
Because maybe he finds out it's Misty and he tries to protect her because he's in love with her or whatever, and plants it on Shauna, frames her. I don't know. But yeah, always fun to talk about the show.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it was interesting that we find out in this that the card that they use to pick him is the King of Hearts.
Yeah,
but
the
then
Suicide King.
The Suicide King. But then when Tai and Van put the card out for the guy to pick up to basically be, the slaughtered lamb, they use a queen.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a queen.
Oh, it's 100% a queen.
I don't remember why they would. Well, I mean,
they talks about the queen
talk about
somewhere else in the show where that's like who the
exact.
leader was going to be or something. But I
That,
don't. I would think that because they introduced this king, this suicide king, and they're picking someone to kill like a
yeah,
suicide, you would think they would have put down the king of hearts
right.
because he picks that card and then he dies.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's kind of odd. I thought it was odd when they introduced it as the king for Ben's, who's going to kill him. And it ends up being Tai, and Tai's the one who puts the
right.
the card down with
Yeah,
Van. So it would have fit more if it was a king,
yeah,
especially
yeah,
since it was a guy that picked it up. But of course, they couldn't know what sex it was going to be.
yeah.
Anyway, that's that.
That's that.
Anything more?
I think that's everything.
All right, we're off to watch Severance.
Yeah.
If you're not watching that show, you are missing out. Best show on
You are.
television, currently airing episodes right now. So check that out. We'll see you in the comments. Adios.
Bye.